WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American over here in Germany, reviewing often rare and exotic whiskeys. This is rare and exotic. These are Germany exclusive Bimber single casks. All right, let's talk about these for a moment. I have over here, they're called, it's part of a series, Shoulders of Giants. The quote from Isaac Newton: he's standing on the shoulders of giants, therefore he can see as far as he can. We have here Ludwig van Beethoven, the componist, the composer. So this is an ex-bourbon cask, all 58 point something. Over here we have Marlene Dietrich, one of the most famous actresses there ever was in Germany. And here we have Oloroso sherry, single cask, 442. Over here we have the bottle that is the hyper bottle of this collection at the moment. This is Albert Einstein. This was a Tawny port cask, 304/8. So, and there was 252 bottles of these for Germany. So what I'm going to try to do is what I did already in my German video is I'm going to try to pour a little bit each of these. Now, Bimber is a very unique distillery. It is not Scottish, it's English. And so there are the rules of the SWA do not count there, which I think is great. So they can use hybrid stills. They can use other types of casks. There's a lot of different things that are possible in England that are not possible in Scotland, which I think is good. All right. So I think sometimes the regulations of Scotland are a little bit too strict and a little bit too, I'm going to use the word phony. Why do I mean phony? Because Scotland wants to keep as much history as possible, unless, of course, the big boys agree it's not what we want. For example, tequila. Tequila cask finishings. There is no history of tequila cask finishings in the Scotch whiskey world, and yet they allow it now. Why? Because all the big boys have tequila companies, and they have barrels, and they get to have their tequila casks, which are all ex-bourbons anyways. So every single tequila cask was before that a bourbon cask. And so then they just bring them over to Scotland and use them as finishing casks, which is not wrong, but to say, hey, we're going to uphold the traditions of single Scotch and then allow something like that is just one example of many other things that I just kind of go, well, no. All right, so but that's just me. All right, so some things are not what I want. Look, I've used every single centimeter here of real estate I have on my screen, and that's the way it is. The bottles are too high for the IKEA shelving unit, just like New Riff, by the way. I don't know if you've had a New Riff bottle. They're too high as well. They're even a little bit higher here. They won't fit in the IKEA shelving units, but that's okay. Now, the bottle itself with the label, it's okay. The back, nah, they're not masterworks of art. But these tins, no, they're cardboard. All right, they're paper product, wood products here, recyclable. We do have a metal bottom and top here, lid, and so on. But I'm gonna say I'm paying like $20, €20 for these wonderful, nice little protective tins here, and I think they're actually worth every single penny. Now, how often have I complained about unnecessary packaging? I've complained about it with the Redbreast 21. I've complained about it with other products all through. Even just the other day here, the Longmorn Signature Vintage. You're paying €15 extra just for this metal little tin here and this fancy little bottle, which we call a flower pot or flower vase over here in Germany, because they have to hand label everything, can't go through a machine, more expensive, and so on. That I'm paying €15 extra compared to a small batch bottle from Signature Vintage instead for that. Is it worth it? No, for me, not. Is the €20 worth it for this? Yes. And I know it's so contradictory. I'm such so Yeah, I know it's not really my normal opinion, but I just love this. They're just fantastic. All right, they're single casks. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. And so is this the right one to share it with? This is the yes. Okay, this is the second one. Now the thing is, I'm going to be sharing a German website because I have the pictures of everything on there. So I'll just explain it here. All right. So over here in Germany, we have actually a website. It's called whiskeyexperts.net. They are the whiskey portal for German speaking people. All right. And so what they do is they have every single press release on there, and we all in the German community read it. And it says here Bimber distilleries actually present their second Shoulders of Giants. So what we have here, we have thinkers, innovators, and visionaries. Love as I said, the packaging here. We have Beethoven over here. We have Marlene Dietrich over here. We have Albert Einstein over here. And for Great Britain, there was Darwin, there was a naturalist, there was an ex-bourbon. We have Winston Churchill, the statesman, that was a Spanish Oloroso sherry cask. We have here, oh, the hogsheads. They're not even butts. We have Queen Victoria, the monarch. She was a Pedro Jimenez sherry. For German, I talked about it. We have 58.3, 58.7, 58.1. So we have 252, 242, 285 for the Oloroso here. But Poland also got something. They're the artists. Witkowicz. It was 285 bottles from Spanish Oloroso, and we have a Belgium, the inventor Sachs with Pedro Jimenez. So now the interesting thing, this is not the first time they did it. If I go back over here to my screen, this is the first one that came out in January. I'm sorry, of April, 15th of April, 2024. Bimber started here with this series. Look at these guys or these people. All right, so we had Dickens for Great Britain back then, 259 bottles, ex-bourbon. We have Newton, that was actually very lightly peated whiskey. We had Shakespeare, that was also here, 271. It was actually in a beer barrel, which I think is kind of interesting. Then for Poland back then, we have Kapanicus, Pedro Jimenez. We had Chopin, we had with a Fino sherry. We had Madame Curie. She was Oloroso sherry. And they're all single farm whiskeys here. And that's what it started off with. And I didn't I wasn't able to buy any of these bottles back then from England or from Poland, but now we have a German exclusive. I'm so glad to present them to you. So what am I going to do before I even try it? I'm going to go back here. Not many people know a whole lot about Bimber. All right. So do you know a lot about Bimber? Have you tried Bimber? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen and go to the Bimber website here, www.bimberdistillery.co.uk. And they do make single malts and only single malts, I think. They've won quite a lot of awards. I don't know if you've seen the Underground series yet. There were a few of these that hit Germany and they were gone within seconds. So every single station on the Underground's probably going to get its nice little whiskey here, and that's a great collection item. I've never seen the Four Elements collections. They might be in Germany. I don't know. So what do we have here? We have the earth, the fire, air, water, and so on. And you can become a member of the club here, which I'm not, I must admit. And what I want to do is I want to go here to our craft. I'm going to go through the different things that make Bimber special. I think the website is fairly well made up here. So we have the barley. We're going to talk about that first. The floor maltings. Every heart of every whiskey geek should beat faster when we see floor maltings. Their fermentation, their copper pot stills. Oh, look, there's a column still, which would be absolutely not allowed over in Scotland, but we're in England, and therefore it is. We have the cooperage. They actually have a cooper on site. And the blender's art, which is not necessary for a single cask. So let's go over here to the barley. So just a very, very brief thing. It's a single farm. All right. So, and they chose a single farm in the near from Hampshire. And so Forham and Allen, our farmer, sows, harvests the barley at the optimal times of the years. They have a 2-row spring barley, Concerto, and Loreto. Very, very good. So, the floor malting. Let's go over here. So, see this? Is this at Bimber in London? No. What they decided to do instead, and I must admit that's a great, great solution here, is they went to Britain's oldest maltster, the Warminster Maltings, and they were able to convince them to dedicate an entire malting floor just to Bimber. And that means the resulted malted barley is a unique product of great quality and their own specifications. What they do is actually they say, hey, just like at Springbank, just at every other place that does their own floor malting, basically we put the barley into water for 72 hours. It's warm water. Oh, the barley says it's spring. Let's germinate. Let's then create nice little here seedlings. And what happens is there's a controlled germination on floors, and it's 5 days approximately where they actually create green malt. In fact, I was up at a distillery in northern Germany and we made green malt together. It was like really cool. And then you transfer the green malt to the kilns to be dried and make malted barley. All right, so you see here what they're doing there. That's the transferring, so that that's green malt that's being transferred. If I see that correctly, it looks like it. All right, so then the fermentation. What they do is actually they take hot water, add it now to the grist after it's been milled, that malted barley, so that in the mash tun it can be converted from the starch into the sugars. And they have that nice sweet liquid, so they separate the grains here and the wort, and they create a clear wort, so that it's less intensive syrup character here. And they cool it, pump it into charred wooden tanks called washback, and they are made at Bimber's own cooperage with American oak. All right. So, and the interesting thing is they have a 7-day ferment process. 7 days. That's their bottleneck in the entire process. They could have done 5 days. No. They could have done 3 days. No. They do 5 days of fermentation. So floor malting, 5-day fermentation. That's what we whiskey geeks want. And then we have here the copper pot still. They actually do nice slow distillation here. It's direct fired. That's also cool. All right. And what they do is they have Doris, which is their 1,000 liter wash still, and it produces a low strength, 33% ABV called the low wines. And it gets a second distillation in the Astrera 2, and it's a 1,000 liter spirit spirit still there. And they have the cuts, the foreshots, the hearts, the feints. And basically what they collect is 72%, which is then later on retained for the maturation. So very small pot stills, to be honest. The cooperage, they have their own little cooper there on site, so they can check all the casks coming in, even fix them if necessary. So we have our own on-site cooperage who checks all cask repairs and rechar the casks when required. Also an interesting thing. I really need to go visit Bimber, I think. All right, and they're in London, so that the high temperature at the distillery, especially in the summers, actually allows the casks, the spirits, to extract more flavor out of the casks. All right, so that's the distillery. I hope that was very interesting for you to see that. And that's the best I can do. I'm not there. I don't have my camera. I can't do that. But hey, Bimber's making interesting things. I'm going to start off with the bourbon cask. All right. So we have 58.7% ABV. We have 242 bottles. We have cask number 402, an ex-bourbon. And on the nose, it's very cereal-like. It's a little bit of graham crackery. If I didn't know better, I'd go, oh, this is a craft distillery from Ireland, maybe even Germany. I would not tip and guess England or the UK. The sherry, the Marlene Dietrich, I love the smell. This is so perfect. Old school, good sherry moment. This nose is absolutely, I'm going to use a word I don't use for whiskey a lot, sexy. Maybe Marlene Dietrich motivated me to say the word sexy, but this is good stuff. Very, very nice. The Albert Einstein actually is sold out in Germany. I've seen it. I did my bottle share for 118 euros each. So you got 360 euros here on the table. I've seen this for 160. I've seen it for 190 sold out. People really wanted this bottle. And it's got a great, great nose. No alcohol whatsoever. Dark, rich raspberry, strawberry moments going on in here. Oh, that's good. Now, these are seasoned casks. All right, so we have here 252 bottles. This was a hogshead. So this is actually a seasoned Tawny port cask. This is a seasoned Oloroso cask. These are not casks that have been used in the sherry or probably the I might be wrong about this. I'm not sure about the sherry, about the port here, but usually with this, there should be more. All right, there's a short. We have port pipes, and they have 500 liters often, so there should be many, many bottles more if that was actually not a seasoned cask. But this is very nice on the nose. B plus, B, C plus. Wasn't wow. All right, I'm going to try this first and then work my way up as well. I have not had very many Bimbers. I don't even know if I have a video online of a Bimber product on my German or on my American channel. I thought I did. Maybe I can take a look here real quick and see if I have a Bimber video here anyplace. So Bimber, Bimber. Yes, I do have. I have a Bimber Recharred 2019. Oh, an Apogee number 12, the pure malt whiskey from Bimber. I also have one I did in 2000. Wow, almost 5 years ago, January. And one I did in February of 2022. That's also almost 3 years ago. Wow, the Apogee's 3 years ago already. Time is flying quicker than I'm really willing to accept at the moment. Do we say in England as well, slancha? Let's say slancha, okay? That's hot. Wow, I'm too weak. I'm going to take the 58% down to about 50%. That's hot as an alcohol hot. It's almost burning. I can almost at the end now anticipate or guess what I should be tasting, but that's just hot. There's a little bit of cereal grain. There's a little bit of a vanilla. There's a little bit of wood. The same graham cracker I got on the palate is a little bit on the nose. I also get a little bit on the palate, but the heat of the alcohol just destroys everything. So I've added a little bit of water. I watered it down to about 50%. Drinkable, but still very youthful, very, very hot, very, very okay. Even with water, that's not my whiskey. That's like a D. Sorry, Beethoven. Beethoven. So Ludwig van Beethoven, this is not what I liked. So sorry. Are you worth 118 euros? Never in your life. All right, so let's move over to the female of the room, Marlene Dietrich. Have I mentioned I love these little tins? Oops. Every single time I come to Marlene Dietrich, I hit my camera tripod and I move everything over. Yep. See, did it again. I've got to do something about this here. All right. Don't put my foot there. I love the nose. Did I say sexy? Yes, I did. Mmm. Mmm. That's good. Wow. I have not been on a sherry trip recently. Whiskeys, sherry, it's full maturation here. Yeah. How old they are? No data given. At least 3 years. We're in Europe. They might be 4, they might be 5, they might be 6, but I guess they're going to be about 4 years of age probably. That's good. That's really good. That's a B minus good. The sherry is great. It's an old school type of sherry that I like. Very, very fruity, a little bit herbalness in there. The nose is a tad bit better than the taste, but that is something that I would actually say, oh, if I could get another bottle, I might actually do that one day. Now, these are Germany exclusive. There's 250 bottles. They're basically sold out. All right, this is sold out, and there's nothing left on any of the shops I could find any place. Now, there might be a brick and mortar shop someplace that might have a bottle, but online shops and so are all gone. 118 euros, way too expensive for what you're getting, but Bimber's always a little bit more on the expensive side. All right, let's go to Albert Einstein. Tawny port, a lot more complexity, a lot more depth here. So I had a 40-year-old port the first time in my life in Lisbon, Portugal. And at the moment, I actually have a bottle of 40-year-old port here that was gifted to me. Great stuff. I'm happy with cheap port. I'm very, very happy with 10-year-old port. Every once in a while, I'll go for a vintage or a 20-year-old, but that 40-year-old is almost too heavy, too thick, and too expensive actually for my taste sometimes. But that's what I'm getting. I'm getting an old Tawny port experience here. This is good. Sláinte. Cheers. Mm. 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 That's a B, solid B, maybe even B plus. I like that even a little bit better than I do the sherry here from Marlene Dietrich. Oh yeah, you guys did some good work with this. Now, what's my takeaway here? My takeaway is that the ex bourbons are not yet ready, but these special casks, Oloroso, Tawny Port, they can be fantastic. I'm sure if I try a Pedro Jimenez, it's also going to be raisiny syrup goodness. Those bourbon barrels, they need more time apparently. But that, oh, wow, that's really good. So we're still on the lower C minus value for money. Is this worth 120 euros? Not really. Even though I love the tin. Is this worth 120? Really? No, not what I'm getting here. But I am a little bit of a marketing so a victim of marketing here. And not often the case, but this time I must really admit, great job, Bimber, on doing that. And I'm sure if I were in the UK, oh look, I want a bottle of my underground, the tube station here. Now, has Bimber's owner been in the news for some financial problems also in Poland, in his home country? Yes. Is he working it out with others? Yes. Will that hopefully be enough for us to continue to be faithful to the Bimber brand? I hope so. We'll see what happens in the next months, years to come. But I am totally a big fan of this Shoulders of Giants series. Now, over here in Germany, Glenn Farkless, about 7 years ago, actually started the Personalities series. So there's been like 27 different bottles so far of different personalities from history. They used to do it 2 or 3 times a year. They put out a bottle, people to buy them, have the collection. I know people have all bottles. They started off around 60, 70, 80 euros. It was cask strength. It was interest. They weren't single cask. They were small batches, if I'm correct. And then the last one just came out after a little bit of break for COVID, and it was like 260 euros. And it's just like, well, I don't know if I'm really going to pay that much more money to have my collection complete. But there are people that are going to do that. I know Penderen had the plans of the icons of Wales. They're going to do 40 plus different icons. I think they're stuck at 16 or so. Who else are doing types of personalities? Who else is doing like a series of different people here? Oh, Jack Daniels did the Legends series, I think, of the Master Distillers that they had there as well. They did that. Who else has done those type of series? And the last question of the day is, what is your personal opinion of Bimber? Have you tried the products? I think on paper, everything looks great. This proves me wrong. This proves me right. So have you had great or bad or mediocre Bimber products? If so, please write it down in the comments and mention which one and why you loved or did not like them. Thank you very much for watching. Whiskey Jason here. Whiskey from the viewpoint of an American over here in Germany. All the best. See you real soon. Bye-bye.